across the world. We are still at the Energy Summit that we started with in Johannesburg. And of course, we are now in Cape Town at the Cape Town International Convention Center, where today discussions are really zeroing on what countries can do and cannot do. Deals have been signed. Yesterday, we saw Kenya signing a groundbreaking deal with the Development Bank of Southern Africa, where they are going to be funding some energy projects. They're quite interesting. If you hear some countries want to go into biodiversity, some countries want to go into hydro, some countries want to go into solar, with the different things that countries want to do. So today the discussions really, what we had from the panelists this morning is that, as you can see, they're now taking a tea break. But what we can see, what we had from the panelists is that as discussions go, governments need to step up their game. Some of the representatives here, they are saying countries need to look into the policy of promoting renewable energy, so that when companies or independent companies produce energy, this energy is able to find its way onto the national grid, because some of them saying the legislation in many countries is such that independent producers cannot supply the main lines. Hence, it makes those who want to invest in renewable energy very hesitant to put money where they are not sure if they will reach the maximum people that they can. And if you talk about solar, independent solar producers also looking at options or legislation that will allow them at least to circulate whatever they produce into and feed into the national grid. So the discussions zeroing so much around what countries should do to promote this renewable energy. We know that according to the United Nations Environment Programme, all countries by 2030, at least they should be able to supply renewable energy or clean energy to its citizens. The argument really is that energy that is produced from coal is not very good for the environment, is polluting the environment, is disturbing the ozone layer, is contributing to the worsening climate change. And of course, this cannot continue, because climate change, we have seen storms, we have seen droughts, we have seen quite a number of things that are happening as a result of that climate change. So a lot of discussions wanting the countries and nations to move away from that. But we know a lot of countries also facing financial challenges with their economies not going well. But the Development Bank of Southern Africa is here to discuss those funding options that the countries can take. So let's see where these discussions take us. But the aim of this meeting really is to enable countries to start projects that are to do with renewable energy. It all depends in Africa. Some of them have said in Africa we've got plenty wind, in Africa we've got plenty sun for solar energy. We've got water, of course, like here in South Africa, just next to Cape Town, there is the sea there. That the water can be used to produce electricity from hydro. And of course, Africa is also endowed with cows or cattle, where, of course, biogas can also be produced, just to be put in the mix, as long as it is not these forms of energy that pollutes our environment. And of course, there is also in South Africa nuclear energy, which is still very controversial. Indeed, people not agreeing as to whether nuclear energy should be part of the mix or should not be part of the mix. We know that whatever residues come out of that, they are still radioactive. They take time to lose that danger. They've got to be buried far away from people's stay. They've got to be kept in sealed drums, concrete drums, for some time, and those concrete drums has to be put into some concrete and thrown away and dug down underground. So that complication, people saying maybe it should not be in the mix, but others saying yes, if measures to dispose all the residues well are taken care of, everything should be fine and everything should be able to work very well. So we are here in Cape Town at the Cape Town International Convention Center discussing issues to do with energy. Of course, Brand South Africa is behind the gathering that is here. They've gathered different representatives of different countries. All Southern African countries are represented here just to help the world become a better place, just to make sure that at least citizens in different parts of the world, when in 2030 they'll be able to receive energy, not just electricity, but clean energy that will be able to reach in different places. If you look at solar, for example, if this is rolled out very well, it can even go into rural areas where it is usually difficult to connect them to electricity because they have the sun there. So stations can be set up around those places, and it could be one of those things that they can do to make sure that they produce and provide electricity that is much needed. Tonight we know that we are going to be going to Parliament. We also going to hear President Cyril Ramaphosa also hitting hard on this point of making sure things like electricity, things like housing, governments do more to make sure the citizens are able to get these things. This is Thuso Khumalo in Cape Town here at the Energy Summit, where African countries are busy really at work, and the summit ends tomorrow. Let's see by the time it ends tomorrow how many countries would leave this place with their briefcases full of promises of funding from the Southern African Development Bank and any other funders that may be interested in funding these projects. The main important thing is that these projects need funding, and that funding is not in the region of your thousands, but it is in the region of your millions and billions in some cases. We're talking of setting up the new energy plants. We're talking of connecting them to the main grid. We're talking of distribution. We're talking of implements. We're talking of solar panels. If it is wind, we're talking of those windmills that need to be linked, turbines, and all those things. So these are huge projects that are being discussed here. And the main idea really of discussing these huge projects is to make sure that at least countries don't struggle when it comes to funding this project. At least countries are able to quickly roll them out, especially in areas where it is difficult for people to be connected to the main grids. Substations can be made from these renewable energies, and it is one way that could improve the lives. This is why the United Nations is also making sure it encourages countries to move with speed so that by 2030 all citizens of the world are connected, at least are able to benefit in terms of the new energy or the other. We'll take a break for now, and we'll go live once the program starts again. It's Thuso Khumalo here in Cape Town. Bye for now.